So now I hope your notebook is getting ready, getting filled up, and you are starting to enjoy this exercise. And in your notebook, you think about the other culture that you own, that other than your own, that you experience, that you have experienced, and list 5 specific things that you don't understand about that culture. If you cannot think of 5, 5 is not some compulsory number. If it's 3, it's okay. 7 is okay. So, for instance, in my notebook, I'll say, I don't understand why. Okay, let's see. I don't understand why the way marriage is conducted in Kerala is different from the way marriage is conducted in Tamil Nadu. I don't understand. I don't understand certain rituals that are prevalent in Karnataka, 5 rituals or 1 or 2 rituals that I don't have. Right? Similarly, in a foreign country, what I didn't understand was why is it that people, because of the weather, people, why is it that in winter the offices start, some offices start at 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't understand that. I thought winter means, little later when the day gets warm and things like that. So 3 things I already have. Like this, you need to write down in your notebook, what is it you don't understand? What does this exercise do for you? When you say, I don't understand about something, it means you're ready to understand, you're ready to listen, ready to learn. This is one classic workshop on it's called Did the Pedestrian Die? Right? So one of the cross-cultural experts, he says that he starts every workshop with this sentence. What will you say? So just look at this sentence. Your brother is driving his new car. Your brother is driving a new car. You are sitting next to him, and he is driving at 70 kilometers per hour in a 30 kilometers zone, right? And on the way, he hits a cyclist. You're sitting next to your brother. Your brother is supposed to drive only at 30. He's driving at 70. And while driving, he hits a cyclist. Then what happens? The police now want you to testify in court as to what happened. Your brother was driving, what speed your brother was driving when he hit the cyclist. Right? What will you say? It's a classic example. Don't worry. That's just a fun exercise. What will you say? So you can either say he was going at 30 and not at 70, which means he is not going to get punished. Or you can say, no, he was going very fast, which means he will get punished. So according to the author, this is a classic example of how different cultures think differently, right? So one culture will say, no, my brother was not going fast. And there's nothing earth-shaking there because it's a cultural thing. Other will say, no, my brother was going fast. So whenever I do these classes in IIT, you will always find many people raise their hands for 30, many people raise their hands for 70, and there is no judgment there. So apparently in the workshop, the people who say my brother was not going fast, that is, they say he was going 30, look at the other people and say, how can you go against your own family? Your family is most important to you. While the people who actually admit that the brother was going at 70, look at the other people and say, how can you not obey the law? So both are right from a cross-cultural point of view. There is no one who is wrong. I'm not going to sit down and ask you what you will say, but it's a brilliant example to find out how people think differently, how cultures think differently. It's called did the pedestrian die, right? That's the name of yeah. I think there's a book on it, so that's the did the pedestrian die. So what are we learning? We are learning that cultures think differently about the same thing. This is one very important aspect of cross culture. It's called stereotyping. What is the meaning of stereotyping? Stereotyping means we judge people from the past knowledge, right? We say in so and so state they only do eat chapatis. In so and so state they only eat rice, right? It's called stereotyping. The process helps you to simplify cross culture. So therefore, you just simply generalize about something, about some culture. So when it is positive, it's nice, but not when it is negative. When you say, no, I don't agree. When you say, I don't agree, this is how they behave. When you don't allow new information to enter, it becomes a problem. Otherwise, it's easy to say, okay, if I go to the US, this is how people will behave. If we are using stereotyping to generally understand culture, it's okay. But suppose you go to the US and you find that what you think about that culture is not right, and you don't allow the new information to come in, then it becomes a problem. So therefore, it depends on how you use the stereotypes. It's a very important word in cross culture, remember. So even in your casual language, don't stereotype me, right? Don't stereotype. I'm not always going to come submit my homework late. You're just stereotyping all the final year students. You're just stereotyping the first year students saying that they are not responsible. You're just stereotyping the second year students saying they're always looking at their WhatsApp, right? So therefore, by saying a generalized view of a particular culture, etc., you are stereotyping them. The other word for you to remember is called ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism means belief that one's culture values are better than others. It's a classic case. All of us, in a way, are ethnocentric. Ethnocentrism means the belief that our culture is better than other cultures. So therefore, imagine, I not only stereotype the other culture, but I also say that my culture is better. So it becomes very destructive, very negative. So remember we said we don't make judgments, we don't say this is better, that is better, mine is better, yours is better, because it unnecessarily leads to cross-cultural conflict. Therefore, no one set of beliefs, values, or norms is better than the other. That's what we learn. So each of us have one set that we are familiar with. So I cannot say my culture is better. I say I'm more familiar with this, and therefore I'm comfortable with this. We also need to recognize that other ways of thinking, believing, and acting may be equally effective. So for them, their culture is very good. For me, my culture is very good. That's all. So the person who says my brother was not going very fast, he is comfortable with that. For the person who says brother was going very fast, he is comfortable with that. We are no one to make judgments on these two cultures. See how many words we are learning. Let's just quickly, I don't want to lose the trend, okay? We started with did the pedestrian die example, the car, you're sitting next to the car and all that. And then we learned that different cultures will react to the same situation in different ways. And then we went to stereotyping, which means that putting people in brackets, saying this is how they'll be, that's how they'll be, etc. And then we went to we went to ethnocentrism, which means that my culture is better than everybody else's culture. And then we are learning parochialism. So therefore, we did the pedestrian die, then stereotyping, then ethnocentrism, and now parochialism. Three new words you already learned. Parochialism is being very narrow in scope, not being open. Parochial, this is how I will do. I will not learn anything new. That's it. Typically focusing only on the local or regional. So supposing there is a match going on, a cricket match going on between your state and another state. Even if the other state scores a beautiful shot, you'll say no. Only my people can do better. Only my team is the best. That's not even a great shot. I do that often in football. I have a favorite team. My team is Manchester United. Last week, Manchester United lost by a huge margin. 6-3. And when they were scoring, they scored such beautiful goals. If any of you has an opportunity to watch that match, please watch. They scored a brilliant goal, especially I think Foden and Haaland scored some brilliant goals. But you know what? You should have seen my face. No appreciation, nothing, because my team is losing. I don't want to say that, I am appreciating some other team, because for me, I'm being parochial. So parochial is being very narrow in our outlook. So now we have learned, what have we learned? We have learned what is culture. We have learned the Iceberg Principle. We have learned that brilliant example from Did the Pedestrian Die? And then we learned stereotyping. We learned ethnocentrism. We learned parochialism. And now we are learning what are the principles for dealing with other cultures. What are the principles? So let's just look at all this once. Okay. Individuals may not conform to general stereotype culture. So therefore, in a large culture, what does it mean? In a large culture, not everybody will conform to the same culture, right? So when you go to the US, not all the Americans will behave in the same way. There will be some American who behave like Indians also, or behave like other cultures, right? So that's what we're learning. When you are dealing with other cultures, please understand, suppose you go to the US tomorrow, or you go to Mexico, or you go to Japan, or you go to China, which you will, which is why we're doing all this. You must understand, have a stereotype view of what China's culture is, what US's culture is, what Japanese culture is. But don't expect everyone to behave in the same way as everyone else. Brilliant, right? I mean, it's so powerful to say, okay, I keep my eyes open for small differences that may happen. I don't generalize. At the same time, I know what is the larger culture. Differences are not always based on culture. So it may be because that person grew up, for instance, you and me, there's so much of difference, right? Both of us have grown up in India, but the way we have looked at the world and the way we have looked at everything is different. Understanding one's own culture first creates a basis to understand the other culture. So therefore, before I try to understand other cultures, it's a good idea to understand our own culture. I would request that many of you start making presentations on India. What it means. Many of us don't know our own country. I think it's a good idea. This could be a good trigger for you to learn about India. Or if you're not from India, if you're from some other country, maybe it's a great way to learn from other cultures. Cultures, individuals do not follow extreme, right? So therefore, you can't say he's so extreme. There are gradations. So much, 9 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, like that. So now what is cross-cultural intelligence? Cross-cultural intelligence means understand the ways culture can differ. Why, not why cultures differ, but what are the differences between one culture and the other. So what are we learning? We are learning what could be the differences between one culture and another culture. Cross-cultural intelligence also means understanding ourselves. Who are we? What am I trying to do? Right? What sort of a person I am? What are my customs? What are my beliefs? What are my values? What are my norms? Right? Understanding ourselves. And why? Why is it that I do certain things? Many times we don't even ask why. By understanding other cultures, we learn to value different points of view. We learn to develop shared values, beliefs, and norms. Now, it's a brilliant question, right? It's a great question. Now it comes back to the notebook. All this while you're wondering why you're not writing, you want to write more. I know that you like to write. So, no, I'm not joking. I also would love to sit down and write along with you. Maybe one day we'll all meet and do this exchange of information, right? So, cultural self identity is, in what ways are you the product of the culture in which you grew up? So in my case, what will I write? Okay, I used to live with my grandparents. So one custom in my grandfather's house is that we have lunch very early in the morning. Almost by 10 o'clock, we have a full lunch, no breakfast. Full lunch at 10 o'clock. Then we have around 3:30, 4 o'clock, we have some light snacks, we call it. Very light snacks. Then 7 o'clock, dinner. This was, I mean, I had come from a different cultural, context, because my parents were not doing that, and I found it so difficult. But then I got so used to it that now I am very comfortable with that. So the question is, in what ways are you the product of the culture in which you grew up? So now, just like what I said, example, you think about something and you say, I am like this because of the culture I grew up in. I'm going to give you some time to write down this answer. Just fill it up. No, whatever comes to your mind, fill it up. You can refine it later. But don't leave that page blank, please. Okay? Have you written it? How does your cultural background make it easier for you to work anywhere in the world? Wow, this is a great question. Now, how does your cultural background make it easier for you to work anywhere in the world? How does your cultural background make it easier for you to work anywhere in the world? So in my case, what will I say? Because I went to a school in Nasik in Maharashtra, where we had at least about 10 cultures in the classroom. It helped me understand that my culture is not the only one that I should look out for. I can get along, and one of my best friends was from a completely different state, complete difference. I got the confidence that I could get along anywhere in the world. Similarly, in your case, for instance, you can talk about where you grew up. I grew up in a township, by the way, right? I grew up in a township. My father was in the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, which means we're a township. Again, the township had people from different states, and we had lots and lots of fun. Every festival was being celebrated in a grand way. So that made me understand, broadened my mind to accept, which means that I don't have an issue going anywhere in the world. I don't have an issue living anywhere in the world, and things like that, because of the background. How does your cultural background hinder you? What is the problem I have that prevents me from taking? What a great question. Goes to the heart of the matter, right? How does my cultural background, prevent me from working anywhere? So let's see, in my case, how does it hinder me? Yeah, one of the things that I am very, 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 very comfortable with my culture. So maximum I can stay maybe for 10 days somewhere else. But I want to come back home. I feel very homesick and I want the same food, and my tongue has got used to all these, the way the South Indian food that I normally eat. I need the rice and all the sambar and the idli and all that. So now I will probably work anywhere in the world, but it's going to be very difficult to stay somewhere and live somewhere else, for especially the food. Also, of course, there's a big reason, because For me, summer is much more comfortable than winter. I can't imagine myself wearing all those clothes going out in minus 20 degrees and all that. But just so in your case, I need you to write something. Please start writing because I think you're enjoying this now, right? Because there's so much we are learning. We learned Iceberg Principle, stereotyping, ethnocentrism. 1 hour ago, we didn't know this. Now we know so much, right? So therefore, get into these exercises, please. Look at this diagram. What are the variables affecting culture? What are the things that affect culture? So, national variables, the economic system of one country may be different. Socio-cultural variables will be the religion that we have in this in one country may be different from other country. The way people are educated, right? Here we are used to saying plus two, plus two, plus two. But when we go to a different culture, when we go to a different country, we may find that education is completely designed differently. Maybe they don't even learn math, physics, chemistry for the first 5 years or 10 years of their school life. And language, of course, especially in India, we know there are so many languages. And when you go outside, again, you will hear different sounds, different languages. Cultural variables are my norms are different, their norms are different, my values are different, their values are different, my beliefs are different, their beliefs are different. Attitudes here will be what is my attitude to change, what is my attitude to materialism, do I keep collecting cars and cars and cars, or do I keep collecting more and more, saving money for someone's wedding or someone's education, right? Am I very individualistic? Am I only talking about myself, or do I always think for a large family, large group? Well, how do I look at time? How do I look at time? Do I look at time as scarce, or do I look at time as plentiful? How do I look at work? How important is work to me? And all that. And finally, individual and group behavior. So at an individual level, how do I behave? What is my motivation for doing things? How do I look at commitment, right? So now you will find that almost every one of this, there will be a difference between one culture and the other. Helps you start learning about other cultures. So how do you deal with other cultures? What goes on in your mind when you set out to deal? That is, supposing you have to pack your bag and go to Mexico next week. What is it that happens in your mind? Are you skeptical? Are you fearful? Are you hesitant? What happens in your mind? Write it down, please. It's so important. So for me, there is slight excitement that I'm going to Mexico. At the same time, there is one small fear as to what will happen. How do I deal with various agencies in Mexico? And imagine for people who have to settle down in a new country, look at the fears they must be going through. So, supposing, this is very interesting, these 4 stages. It's a long time since I've spoken about it, so I'm very excited. There are 4 stages of dealing with different cultures. Let's assume for a moment that you are transferred by your company to a different culture, different country. Let's take, the US being the most common example. Let's say that you are transferred to Los Angeles. You are going to work in Los Angeles from next month. You will go through, when I say you, all of us will go through 4 stages. When you are immersed in a different culture, when you're dealing with another culture, you will normally go through 4 stages. What are the 4 stages? The first stage is elation. Everything is new and exciting. I love this, I love that. Oh, look at that machine there. Look at this baseball game. Oh, look at that car. You're so excited and everything is new. That's called the elation, the stage of elation. All of us have experienced it. Second stage, so that's the examples. I jumped the gun. Wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing? I love this place. So many types of chocolates. Yeah, when I went to, I remember when I went to to the Cadbury's factory in the UK. I don't remember which place. If any of you remembers, please let me know. Oh, it was beautiful. I've never seen so much chocolate in my life. I went for a visit to the Cadbury's factory. Just amazing. I actually, they also give you a lot of samples, right? So different types of chocolates and all that. Here, what I told you in the beginning, right? I didn't know you could drink water straight from the tap. That's the first stage is elation. Second stage is transition. I'm now confused. I've been here for 3 months. I'm upset. I'm so frustrated. What is this? I don't get my idli dosa in the morning. I'm so confused. I'm dissatisfied. I don't like this place at all. I keep calling my manager and saying I want to come back home. He says, no, 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 you have to stay there for 5 years. So, transition. Here, look at what all I start complaining. Actually, transition, you can say on complaining stage. What all I start complaining. Food is so bland. Haven't they heard of spices? Everything is so complicated. I don't even know how to flush. Where is that button, flush button? I'm not able to make out. In India, it's so easy. Just flush it or pull that thing, right? It's so. Why did that person laugh when I asked for a ticket? I only know the name ticket. Why did he laugh? Maybe there's something else I should have asked. Why should he laugh at me? What is this? What do they think of themselves? I tend to get embarrassed. Every time I'm wondering whether what I'm doing is right or wrong. I can't go into a bus without being embarrassed. I'm always doing some mistake. I always think that I'm doing some mistake. I always think that everyone is looking at me. Transition. The third stage is understanding. I become more and more familiar. I say, oh, this is how. Then one of my friends visits Mexico, and I say, you know what? Visits the US and say, come, I'll take you through the tram. I will take you through this theater. I know how to navigate through these cities. I know which street we have to go. We are very familiar. And now you say, your friend says, what, you can drive? Yeah, I am very good in driving. And you understand the traffic. Baseball, and then you say, wow, yeah, I love cricket, but baseball is a beautiful game, yaar. Once upon a time, you hated baseball, okay? You didn't even know what baseball was. I should go for the game this weekend. I'll take you to the baseball game. The people here are courteous and don't mind repeating things if I don't catch their meaning first time. Very nice people, wonderful people. I have not met such nice people. I'm feeling so much at home, right? The fourth stage is integration. You begin to accept the differences and adapt. You become adaptable to that culture. After some time, the culture that you went from becomes little non-familiar to you. You know people, right? They stay for 20, 30 years in the US, and when they come back, they can't come back and adjust to this culture. So these are the 4 stages. You say, I love sushi if you're in Japan. I will sign up for golf lessons. I want to play golf. There must be a reason for this obsession with it. There must be, right? So you are trying to understand, you're trying to immerse yourself, integrate yourself with the other culture. So, what are the 4 stages? And it's very important for you because now you will start to understand yourself. You will know what stage you are in every time you're dealing with another culture when you're staying in a different culture. Whether you are in the elation stage, whether you are in the transition stage, whether you're in the understanding stage, or whether you are in the integration stage.